What's up, rockers?
Hey, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Shane. Welcome to another edition of For the Record for Kaz and Shay. Did I say that wrong?
No, you said it right.
Okay. So, God, it's been a really good week already. Monday, you and I saw Queens of the Stone Age together down in Portland, and that's always going to be a special show for me because the first show we ever saw was Queens of the Stone Age back in 2011. We consider that the show that started it all. So we went to Portland, saw them. It was great. Really good. Yes. And then yesterday, sometimes we have to break apart.
Boy, we did.
And it was, as much as we were missing each other, yearning, longing for each other, we saw different shows. I saw my second Queens of the Stone Age show of the week. Incredible. One of my favorite shows I've ever seen. And you were at
Bad Religion
in Tacoma.
Yes.
And you got a photo pass, your first time shooting them.
Yes, and I was so excited. I got some really, well, in my opinion, they're really good photos.
Okay. So we both had these great nights, but we're back together. It's Thursday, and we're here to talk about something else. Do you remember earlier this summer I sent you an article, a Tacoma News Tribune article about a restaurant that was opening up that was, I feel like it was made for you and I.
Right. It was a new place opening up. Well, the location alone, right across from High Voltage Records.
High Voltage Records, yeah. So it's a restaurant called Busybody in Tacoma. And we're going to go up there. We're going to talk about it. We're going to interview some of the people from there. And we're going to tell you all about it. I hope you love it as much as we love it. Anything you want to say before we head to Tacoma, Brian?
No, I think we are good. We are going to resume this up at Busybody, and we're going to talk some stories with the owners and their connections with different restaurants and the band The Sonics. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and just their connection alone to High Voltage is enough. So many things about this place that we like, but we haven't set foot in yet.
We're going to give some of you guys a new destination to try out after this.
Guys, we've made it to Busybody. We're on 6th Avenue, in the heart of our favorite section of the world. That might be hyperbole, but definitely of Tacoma. We're here with Chris Jones, Maxwell, Edison. Guys, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We did a little intro, and reading the article in the Tacoma News Tribune about this place, it really felt like somebody built a restaurant specifically for Brian and I. So let's talk about some of your past restaurants that led you to here. You both have experience in other restaurants?
Yeah. So there's 4 of us involved in this. Myself, Maxwell Edison, Dave Flatman, and Nathan Chambers. Nathan was involved in the venue collective alma mater here in Tacoma, and he's lived in Tacoma for a long time. My partner in my bar in Seattle called Screwdriver, me and Dave founded that, and Dave moved to Tacoma, I'm going to say maybe like 2017, 18, a couple years pre-COVID. And so we've had Screwdriver, which is a basement rock and roll bar, kind of our shrine to rock and roll, since 2016. And from almost that entire time, Maxwell has been like our house DJ, resident rock and roll expert. Like, I thought I knew a lot about rock and roll, like having a rock and roll bar and all that sort of stuff. Every time Maxwell DJs, I learned dozens of things that I didn't know. Like, he's forgotten more than I've known in my whole damn life.
Well, that's interesting because that is the relationship I have with Brian. We both love music, but Brian is an encyclopedia of music.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm going to be picking this guy's brain at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, one like constantly.
We can all learn from one another.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so you moved. This is your first personal venture in Tacoma, really?
In Tacoma, yes.
Yeah.
So we were. How this kind of got started was the business above Screwdriver, which has been multiple things throughout the years. I've lived next door to Screwdriver for about 20 years. That's how I found the space. So it's like my block in Belltown is like how you guys feel about 6th Avenue. You know, that's my home. That's where I rarely leave. And it's just like my zone. And I've just seen so many businesses come and go. And the last business, this pub, went under. And the landlord reached out to us and was like, hey, I'll give you guys first crack at this space if you want it. And we really wanted it. But ultimately, there was just, call it a bad feeling, it just wasn't right. so we passed on the project. But we got the itch. So we were like, well, maybe we should start considering like looking around. And then within like a week, this place, Dave was driving by and this location was open. And Dave was like, how about Tacoma? And I was like, that's your your zone, man. Absolutely. If you say it's a great deal, I'm in 100%. So we kind of asked Maxwell to be involved. Dave kind of brought in Nathan, and we, here we are.
And so that is amazing. And then a further connection that, like, holy shit, this bar is made for us, is the Sonics connection. And you guys have already talked about all the extensive work that Kaz has done with the Sonics and things he's done. So how did that really start? Like, how did that, like, this is going to be sort of Sonics related, and it's named after a Sonics live album.
It 100% is. And I'll just say something real quick, and then I'll let Maxwell take over. But when we were, the thing that I do in all my businesses anyway is like, it's rock and roll. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's the soundtrack to my life. But it's way more than that. It's like, it's the design, it's the music, obviously, but it's just like my favorite thing. So rock and roll has to be a component in more or less everything I do. Dave and I have a sister bar in Nashville. It's a rock and roll tiki bar. So everything is like, has an undercurrent of rock and roll. And when there was almost it kind of just happened like, oh, we're on 6th Avenue, we're Tacoma. Obviously it has to be a Tacoma rock and roll bar. Like, Tacoma rock and roll is everything to us. We absolutely love the Etiquette Records stuff. So we kind of decided really quickly that it has to be a shrine to the music that is so important for the city of Tacoma, for the world, everything like that. So that was my take on it anyway.
Yeah. And how about you, Maxwell?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say it any better than that, but I've been so into 60s garage rock and roll for so long, and the Sonics have always been one of my favorite. The Wailers, of course, and coming out here, I mean, there's no better bands to represent in Etiquette Records in a space like this, and so we moved forward with it, and we even, like, the reason we have the purple and the red on the walls is we took the original Etiquette 45s.
Yeah, we matched the colors from the original 45s, and it had to be. That just means so much to us from a musical standpoint, but also aesthetically, and the fact that their Etiquette Records was on 6 and everything like that. We're like, that's our angle here, and it's not. It's 1,000% coming from a place of reverence. Like, we live and breathe this music and the style and the colors and everything like that. There's no pretension, no anything other than it's important for us to keep. I mean, if things aren't kept alive like this, people forget. And we want to be like a living reminder of things that are important.
Yeah, and so definitely you're talking about all the stuff you've learned from Maxwell here. The Sonics is sadly a band that I really learned through Kaz. I knew the name, but I don't, maybe Have Love Will Travel, but that's as far as I went. And we've been lifelong friends, but we've been really on this musical concert, spending a lot of time journey since like 2011. And the Sonics is one of the bands that pretty much I knew nothing about. And through Kaz, I've learned to love. And Kaz, all the stuff that you've done with them, and you talking about all the things that you've shot with them that you're willing to add here. What does this mean to you, having a Sonics bar?
Well, this is just amazing. Like, the minute I walked in, the first thing I saw was that Jerry Rosalie picture up there, and that's just a classic. And our good friend Jordan Albertson did that documentary that everyone will finally be able to see, whether streaming,
Jordan.
platform, DVD in December. And to sit there, I'd like, no way will I ever sit there and say I'm comparing myself or anything, but I'm just honored that my photos are in the same movie as Gina Delaccio. To me, I was I'm not worthy of it, but it was an honor for me but like looking at her book and all the photos that she had taken, and it's cool to know the history of the Sonics and some of the shows that they did back in the day with Pat O'Day, and it was just, it's insane. And that documentary will definitely open up a lot of people's eyes as a guest that Jordan got in there, like Kim Thale, Nancy Wilson, Chris Blue, Mike McCready. They all starts, their music wouldn't exist without the Sonics. And, you know, and it's just neat that people like you help to preserve the history of that band.
We got to.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I feel like kind of a slob in just a T-shirt and shorts. I so dig the outfits. I mean, that's just I don't know if that's too much if I'm coming on too strong, but I love the look and everything. And so yet the third thing that really attracted to me to this place was the connection to Musong, the amazing restaurant in Seattle. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. This is another full circle story that just that is just the best, that adds so much weight to the whole thing. I moved to Seattle and to Belltown in 2003, and Dave and I met, my partner, Screwdriver Dave, met both bartending in Belltown in the early 2000s, and we ended up working at the same place, this tequila bar on the same block as Screwdriver, called Delray, and we worked with Mel from Musang, and we were just young kids working in a bar, going crazy and things like that. Well, I ended up just continuing doing that, working other things. Dave ended up moving to New York for a while, and during almost the whole entire period that he was in New York, Mel was in New York too, and they were just like, they've always been friends, whereas we lost touch just as people in bars do, but Dave and Mel have always been friends, and now once Mel became Musang Mel, like beard-nominated chef Mel, they were friends throughout this whole thing, and they had always talked about collaborating, because we kind of had this, Dave and I had this cachet with Screwdriver that people recognize that we're doing something real and we're doing something important in the city of Seattle by keeping soul alive and keeping rock and roll alive, and we're people see that we do things the right way. And we recognize when other people do that as well. And Mel is one of those people that we've always had this respect. And so when Dave and Mel were talking, and she mentioned that her partner was down here, so she spends a lot of time in Tacoma, and she kind of offhandedly threw out, well, if you guys ever come across something, keep me in mind. So when we got this, Dave reached out and was like, would you like to be a part of this? And she had been doing, kind of over COVID, she had been doing this little pop-up called Musangtinos, kind of a more like street version of what they do, same quality, but just more almost like street food style. And they did a pop-up at Screwdriver. So we had that connection. We had the Delray, we had the Belltown connection. And she was like, I was thinking about just doing Musangtinos in your Tacoma Rock and Roll Bar. And we were all like, couldn't believe it. We were like getting world-class food in it's almost like something that happens more often in like New York City, where you have this amazing, cool, possibly rock and roll bar, but just like a cool bar with world-class food. It doesn't happen out here very often, if at all. And so for us to get that, let alone us having actual history together, growing up together, is made it really, really special and like a complete coup in our eyes.
Yeah. So I mentioned I had dinner there in Seattle last night, and so I can't wait to try. I haven't tried the food here. I can't wait to try. And Kaz, right over there is our favorite. Well, you don't turn around. No, but the camera's not going to turn.
I thought you were going to show me another Sonics picture.
Yes, High Voltage Records is right there, and that is our favorite store. Talk about some of the connections to that.
I love those guys. I mean, I've known them for a while. I did a blog on them on my regular website, and Brian, the owner, called me, treated me to Bad Religion concert last night. Good friends, and Brian was telling me last night we had conversations about this place. We're telling him we're going to be here, and he's like, Brian's a sober guy. He's like, I don't drink, but I really love the vibe in there. And it's cool that all our employees love it because they get to DJ first Thursday of the month?
First Thursdays, yep.
And so tonight you get Brew. She's a rock star.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Excited,
and, Matt, and then
That's
Adam.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yep, Adam, yep.
And it's cool because, when you go in there, too, you tell who's working. Like Matt, the music he plays, he'll do some of that, he'll get that real cool old country going, like Bobby Bear era, stuff like that. It's just really neat, the connection you guys have. Couldn't be in a better spot.
Absolutely. I mean, us like the rock and roll world is small, like for like the diehards, and it seems like you just find each other, and we're all about any of our businesses, any of us as people, we're all about the community. Like we everybody's welcome, and we try to make connections in everything that we do. And it was important for us to come in to 6th Avenue and reach out and make friends and make inroads, because we want to represent Tacoma, we want to represent 6th Avenue, we want to represent like the world and how we want the world to work. And so that is reaching out to your neighbor, like, oh, you're a record store, we're a rock and roll bar, why don't you play records? Like that is just makes perfect sense to us.
Yeah.
And so every day, like the Moosang thing, it's just everything we try to have connectivity in amongst human beings.
That's awesome. And so Maxwell, so maybe you can talk a little bit more about the DJ. I know you DJ here and they DJ here, and then you do a song of the day. Is that all you?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that and how do you choose a song? And it seems like it's all like the same sort of, keep it in the 60s and
we move it around a bit.
Yeah.
We'll do stuff from the 70s, even 80s. We did when there's anniversaries for records, we'll put those up. We did the Oasis 28th anniversary.
Okay.
But it's just all rock and roll. I try to keep it in the 60s, 70s, because that's what I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But it's all about education, right? So what makes me happy is to turn people on to music they haven't heard and get them excited about it, and then they know it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's just super cool.
That to me is still the best part of music.
Me too.
We were talking earlier. When I was with the Sonics, we did a tour with Robert Plant.
Nice.
And I don't know if you've ever heard his podcast he did on Rick Rubin's show, Broken Record, but he's an encyclopedia of wealth so much. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah, please do.
And this is going to be really quick. I mean, you would never guess that Robert Plant would have known this guy existed, but the Presidents of the United States of America got their inspiration when Chris Blue was living in Massachusetts. He would go into this bar, and there'd be a guy in the corner sitting on a stool playing songs about spiders and stuff like that. And that's what gave them the inspiration for the President of the United States of America. And he would tell me the story. They flew him in to open for him on a show. And he goes, he was just a barstool guy in Massachusetts. But then listening to this podcast, Robert Plant talks about him. I mean, that's how deep this guy digs.
Whoa.
Who would have ever guessed that Robert Plant would have a minute to listen or know the history of that guy? And it's crazy. He would come to our dressing room every night, and he could tell you every Little Richard song, where it was recorded, who recorded it. It was insane. And it's like, I love getting educations like that.
Yeah,
I love telling
too.
those stories firsthand, and it's just so cool. And I bet you we're going to be best friends when this is
Oh,
done.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can. Some people choose the path of like gatekeeping with their musical knowledge and like kind of lord it over. I've met so many people like that in my time, or you can choose to share your knowledge and to educate and like people like. They had to learn something for the first time as well, and that's how you keep it alive by talking about it and passing it along, and like, oh, I got this record and you should check it out because you like music, basically, and you can be closed off or you can be open to the world, and that's Maxwell's just such a good job of not like, I have all this knowledge, but he's like, let's have all this knowledge, which is just an unbelievable skill trait that we try to emulate in everything, with drinks to the food to everything. Like we're all in this together, and like just because you don't know what a food dish is or a drink or what music's playing, like, hey, everybody has to learn it at some point, and why not today? Like let's make it a choice to educate with reverence and love. And
so another place we haven't mentioned is right through that wall across the street is Jazz Bones, a fantastic venue, and one day it would be awesome to have some sort of connection, if you haven't already established, with them and putting on shows and festivals.
I mean, the rock and roll bar, the record store, the venue, I mean, all in like up on one street corner is all of those lend itself to.
It's like the trifecta.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
buy
venue,
a
the
record,
vinyls, the
get
drinks.
food and drink, go see a show, and repeat every day. But I see opportunities of like you guys were mentioning, a block party with, I mean, the venue, bar, record store. It's like it should be all linked.
It's usually not that simple, but you have it's like this connection here is great, and we have this sort of dream, about the Olympia music scene, and we've been doing shows, and we featured a lot of great female musicians, and we want to have a lady fest, which they used to do in Olympia, like 2001. We want to do a For the Record fest down there. So that's so awesome. But I want to. So maybe because I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the food and the menu and like what is your favorite thing and what are people loving and drinks. Tell me about that.
For me, it starts with the burger. I mean, the burger is just absolutely fantastic. We got a bunch of different options. We got the standard burger. We have the lumpia burger. We have a double patty burger that's one beef, one lumpia. We have a veggie burger, or like a Beyond Burger, isn't it?
Yep.
It's not.
Yeah.
And then and those are just fantastic, made with like in-house cut fries and everything like that. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
What's something else? People love the wings.
They love the wings.
Love the wings, which are really good.
There's the Musang dog.
The Musang dog, which is on the Musang menu, I believe that they always have.
I feel terrible because I've been saying Musang, but you guys are saying Musang. I need to change that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. So, and then, this is a bar that's featuring music from the 60s. What kind of crowd are you getting in here? What kind of people are gravitating to this?
Types.
Everyone?
All types.
Yeah,
which is the best, because our Screwdriver is kind of the same way, that it's just it's a basement rock and roll bar, but we have a great liquor selection. It's clean, so it's not a cocktail bar. It's not a dive bar. It's just a bar for everybody. And it just so happens to, like, if you like rock and roll, it's great. It would probably end up being your favorite bar of all time. But that's not a prerequisite, because it's beautiful in here. The location is great. The food is amazing. But our Dave, Screwdriver Dave, is kind of like, he runs the bar program, and he is the best in the business. And so we have our cocktails are on draft. We have wine on draft. We have a great local beer selection. We work with all the Tacoma breweries, and just excellent cocktails. And so it's kind of like our secret weapon is rock and roll bar, but the product is for everybody. There's something for everybody, and we're extremely welcoming and a very friendly staff. So it's, you get the 6th Avenue people, you get the people in for a show, you get out-of-towners, you just get, Sonics fanatics and Etiquette Records people, but
in all ages, too.
Everybody is welcome here.
That's awesome. I said, I think Maxwell, I said to you, I'm like, I feel like we were meant for each other. I mean, I see a lot of the spirit of you guys in the spirit of mine and Brian, and so I'm so happy that I reached out to you, Maxwell, and you were so receptive, and I love that. I thought I was telling Jordan, you got to check this bar, but you had already been reaching out to Jordan. It just seems really organic, and I just love the way it works out.
Everybody you guys mentioned, Andrew, we're old friends. I also design bars, and I design clothes, and I've made suits for the presidents before, so all of these sort of things you mentioned. Kurt, Maxwell DJs with Kurt Block. He's in the Screwdriver Hall of Fame, and it's just all of our conversations are we're very good friends with everybody that you guys bring up too. Hefe, Matt Vaughn, all these our world. There's a lot of overlaps on the Venn diagram here.
Yeah. It's funny, you don't realize sometimes you should have known someone 10 years earlier. You would have thought,
right.
But life gets busy, but eventually it comes together.
It does.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have we left anything out? Have we talked about everything?
We don't have time to talk about more Sonic stuff.
Well, we'll do that off camera.
Yeah.
But God damn it! I hope you guys are successful and you have a long run here.
And I think it's also important to note that this is although Maxwell and I live in Seattle, two of our partners have deep roots in Tacoma, and it's a bar for everybody, but this is a proud and true Tacoma bar. It was very important to show the Tacoma rock and roll history, which is such a cultural and musical touchstone in history. So important. The city is so important, and we want to pay reverence to it. And we have a deep love of the city of Tacoma, of 6th Avenue. And it isn't like Seattle guys doing a Tacoma bar. This is a Tacoma bar. Mm-hmm. And that is like, I feel that that's important, and we're very proud of that thing. This is for the history city, and it's something for everybody that lives here.
Oh, that's awesome. Can't ask for more than that.
No, and what we're going to do too is I'm going to do some photos for these gentlemen here at their place, and we're going to come eat when they open.
Yeah.
And we're going to take photos of the food, the dinner, so you guys can see how delicious it is also.
Yeah,
Don't
awesome.
take our word for it. You guys are going to have to come up here yourself.
Yeah, but I think they should know we got this size for a reason, right? It's not that we love food and we love bars and we love music. So this is our new favorite spot.
And I bet you anytime someone could come in here and want to talk music, I bet you Maxwell will sit next to him and go.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
bring it on.
I know.
And it has been really cool to have a lot of old timers that were like, I grew up with, those guys, and they get telling stories and tell us things we didn't know, and it's so neat to get that perspective of things.
And they always started off with, you're not old enough to know.
Yeah. Well, Chris and Maxwell, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate
Continued success. We hope for the best, and thank you for this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time for I'm Kaz. No, I'm
Kaz.
I'm Shay, and thanks for watching another episode of For the Record with Kaz and Shay.
Thank
We
you.
will see you next time.